Hey folks, Ray from Love You RV back at you again. Well, we've all seen those horrific photos and video footage of RV fires. The way they construct RVs and the materials used lends them to burn up quickly. If inside, you may only have seconds to escape. So to hopefully keep that from happening to you, I've decided to publish some common sense RV safety tips, just kind of essential advice for a new RV owner to consider. With a little bit of effort, you can dramatically reduce your risk. So let's get started. First, change your detector batteries. This one's kind of like a duh, but worth repeating. Just like in a regular home, make sure your smoke detector, propane, and carbon monoxide detectors have fresh batteries in them at all times. A good rule of thumb is to change all the batteries every 6 months. You know, I use the day we set our clocks back and forth as the day I change the batteries in my detectors. But even if the detector has an extended life lithium battery, like a lot of them now will last 10, 12 years, or permanently wired into your RV 12-volt power system, such as your propane detector is usually wired in, it's worth checking the expiry date. For example, my original equipment Atwood LP gas detector recently expired after it hit the 7-year mark, so I had to change it out because the little sensor in it that detects the propane wasn't going to be working properly anymore. Next, make sure the propane system has been certified by a licensed LP technician. It's a good idea to have it recertified every few years. In many jurisdictions, there actually is a mandatory inspection period. They will inspect it and test the propane system for any leaks, make sure everything is in working order. I know in our jurisdiction, when you sell the RV as a used RV, it has to be checked before it can be reinsured. So check into that, especially if you're buying a used RV. Also check all the local laws regarding propane regulations. If you ever smell propane, get out of the RV immediately. You know, try to turn off any of the external propane tanks and call the fire department or 911, whatever. But don't hang around in there. Driving with the LP gas on, people do this to keep the refrigerator cold. That's an age-old question. Can I leave my LP system running while I'm traveling in the RV? So this always spawns all kinds of debates and no-win arguments, kind of leads in an endless circle of comments on RV forums and groups. Personally, I err on the side of caution. I'm not really comfortable driving around with an open flame burning in my fridge compartment, and I'm too lazy to worry about if I remember to turn the gas off when I refuel or when I go through a tunnel or board a ferry, etc. For what it's worth, in 9 years of full timing with over, I estimate, 80,000 miles of towing, we've yet to have any spoiled food in the fridge. When you think about it, the typical RV fridge is like a giant camp cooler, but much better insulated than most. I tent camped for years with coolers, not near as good. These days, many people are also adding extra batteries, power inverters, and solar panels to the RV for off-grid camping. So with a little bit of additional wiring, the typical RV absorption type refrigerator can run off electricity versus LP gas while traveling. Next tip, don't overload your electrical circuits. From what I've seen, the average RV uses the bare minimum quality when it comes to electrical outlets. Most are really lightweight and cheaply made. With that in mind, my advice is don't plug too many things into one outlet, especially the high draw appliances or heaters. Try to spread the loads out between the different outlets. Pick up a little wattage meter. There's one called a kilowatt that's really good. It's very inexpensive. And test how much power current you may be drawing. If you're consistently maxing out an individual outlet, consider maybe installing a heavy-duty electrical box for it. Maybe even have the wiring beefed up to it. Occasionally also feel the electric outlet plates in the main breaker panel and see if anything is getting hot. If they are excessively warm to the touch, call an electrician and have them checked out. Also, my advice, get yourself a good quality surge protector. If an overload on the shore power occurs, like the campground power, it can cause damage and possibly a fire in the RV circuits. I use and recommend for our 30 amp RV the Progressive Industries hardwire model. It also comes as a portable model, but it's kind of good for peace of mind. Just that any power problems are going to shut that power off to our rig. Next tip, maintain appliances. It's especially important to keep the RV's appliances clean and maintained. Number one on that list is a refrigerator, one of the most common causes of RV fires by far. Say, for instance, the rig's been in storage and some critters made a nest near the fridge gas burner. Next time you use the fridge in gas mode, you may have a fire on your hands. So open up the access panels of the RV appliances a couple times a year and make sure there's no dirt or debris buildup taking place. Also visually inspect the wiring and the circuitry for any signs of overheating or loose damaged connections. If you spot anything suspicious, call in an RV technician to take a look. Careful cooking in the RV. Our RV kitchens are cramped with tiny amounts of counter space. Therefore, we must be extra careful when preparing our meals. Keep the stove area clean and never leave a burner on when not present in the RV. Besides a nearby fire extinguisher, I like to keep a couple boxes of baking soda above the stove in case of a flare-up. Fast action may save the RV and prevent a ruined vacation. Also remember, the stove and the oven's propane burners eat up oxygen, so make sure to leave the RV's roof vents or crack a window to let in fresh air when you're using them. Next is tires and axle bearings. So you wouldn't think tires and bearings would be a fire threat, but think again, they are a not so uncommon cause of burnt out RVs on the highway. What can happen is an axle bearing fails and gets extremely overheated to the point of igniting the tires, or they seize and the tire drags and ignites on the pavement. And once a tire gets fully engulfed, it's really tough to put out. The fire spreads and the whole rig goes up in smoke. There's several ways to avoid this happening. First, always maintain the wheel bearings, especially trailers. Keep them inspected and re-greased at the recommended levels. Second, keep your tires inflated at the appropriate levels for the load. Underinflated tires heat up really fast. And third, after traveling, check the wheels and tires for heat. Do it often and you'll get a feel for what the average temp is and know when one's out of acceptable range. I picked up an inexpensive infrared thermometer gun for the task. Also, if you can afford it, I recommend installing a wireless tire monitoring system. A quality system will monitor not only the air pressure but also the temperature, alerting you to any changes before a catastrophic failure happens. Battery ventilation. So the lead acid batteries used in many RVs can emit dangerous gases and need proper ventilation. To avoid any problems, make sure the battery storage area is adequately vented to the outside. If you keep the batteries inside a sealed box, a vent hose needs to be installed on the top and a second hole below to create a chimney effect to evacuate the potentially explosive fumes. Fresh and adequately charged and well-maintained lead-acid batteries will produce less gas, so avoid using them too long before replacing, and always maintain the water levels. Or if you can afford it, consider spending the extra money for some sealed AGM-type lead acids, or even better, the newer lithium-type batteries. And of course, avoid smoking and causing sparks around the batteries, and make sure connections are clean and tight. One tip I can pass along: if any of the metal objects in the area around the battery bank are showing signs of corrosion, then you likely have a problem with insufficient ventilation or the way they are being charged. Barbecue and campfire. Keep the barbecue and campfire well away from the RV. Seems straightforward, but you never know. If it would suck to melt the sidewall area or damage the awning with excessive barbecue or campfire heat. When grilling, we occasionally create significant flare-ups, especially those juicy burgers. A little extra distance is only prudent. Pay attention to the local dry season burning bans. Don't be the guy who starts a forest fire. Rather than burning wood with the possibility of sparks and hot embers, I'd advise, unless you're using your fire to cook on, try one of the new LP gas-powered fire pits. I've sat beside a few and they are quite enjoyable and much safer. Plus, no smoke in the eye. Fire extinguishers. I like to keep several fire extinguishers on board the RV, not just the one it came with. And also inside the truck I keep one. So there's one in the entrance kitchen area, another in the bedroom, a third in an outside storage compartment, and a fourth in the truck's cab. This way an extinguisher is always handy, and I have several backups if needed. It's good to know the type of fire extinguisher you have. I advise the ones that you can use on many kinds of fires. And don't forget to have them serviced yearly and replaced when they expire. Our Cougar fifth wheel came with a piddly little extinguisher. mounted on the entrance door, I guess the bare minimum they can get away with installing. I quickly upgraded it to a much larger and higher quality unit. Plan and exit route. So in the event of a fire inside the RV, do you have a plan to escape the RV? Say you are awakened in the middle of the night by a smoke alarm and there's a fire blocking the main exit. What do you do? It's essential to think about it and have an escape plan in place. So in our fifth wheel, there's an emergency exit window in our bedroom, but it's quite high off the ground, maybe 6-7 feet at least. So I always keep my foldable ladder that I carry underneath the window. I just park it right there, and we plan to open the window, throw the bedding across the sharp edge of the window, and then we can climb down onto the awaiting ladder. So there you go. In conclusion, I'd like to say I'm not an RV fire safety expert, just an avid RVer, so take what I say with that in mind. Spend some time and research RV fire safety on the web. There are many excellent resources out there. Educate yourself. Who knows? You may save your rig one day, or more importantly, you may save yourself, your loved ones, or your fellow campers. Till next time, Ray from loveyourrv.com. Thanks for watching, folks. Cheers, everyone.